we really haven't been taught about money, which is a huge key, and yet we work for it, we try and save it, we invest it, but we don't really understand it. And therefore, if you don't understand it, then you can be lulled into a false sense of security. But I became a stockbroker, started studying this was really key, started studying currencies in 1987. And when you start to look, you start to see patterns. And then when you keep looking, you see that patterns emerge. And they repeat time after time. So I really did not expect to see a reset in my lifetime, but since I recognize the patterns and I pay attention, it was in 2008 really when the system died, and I started talking about a reset in 2009 after an interview I saw with Christine Lagarde. And every other word out of her mouth was reset. And I said, holy crap. So, I stopped retiring and I started really planning and planting a lot of seeds of my own. And here we are. I went to ITM in 2002, built their database to track everything, and I'm the Chief Market Analyst there. I can't say that there ever was really a switch, because I grew up with my uncle, and he was really a big mentor to me. So I always I wish I understood it better when I was younger, to be perfectly honest with you, but I always understood the importance of tangibles, and particularly gold and silver. And I don't know why it stayed so clearly in my mind, but we were at his house one day, and he said, if anything should happen to me, Aunt Bertie is well taken care of for the rest of her life because of what's in these safes. It really wasn't about gold and silver, because I was also there on Black Monday, and I became a stockbroker in 1986. So that was really the kickoff, the beginning of this current, the current Fiat experiment that's dying now. But I was always a big believer in having a portion of your portfolio in physical gold and silver. So when Black Monday happened, and I was a new stockbroker then, I didn't understand how the stock market worked, even though I went through all the classes and all of that. And I was with Shearson, and I went there because they had the best training program on the street at the time, but they didn't want me to understand the stock market. They wanted me to just sell what they were telling me to sell, right? So because I didn't think that's what people were paying me for, I was doing a lot of treasuries. So on Black Monday, I will never forget that day. It was the best day I could have ever been a stockbroker. And I was living in Florida at the time, and I went out to lunch. It seemed like a normal day to me. And when I came back, it was complete chaos in the office. That was before computers. But there were two big screens. They had two huge rooms where people would congregate and watch. And then the stockbrokers were in the back on their Quotrons. So when I got into the office after lunch, it was sheer chaos. The brokers were literally, not figuratively, literally under their desks. Nobody wanted to take a call. Didn't matter to me. I had been selling treasuries and having people in gold and silver. So, and I happened to have a client that owned a small savings and loan in Crockett, Texas. And he and his friends that were big oil wildcatters and such, they were very, very sophisticated. All I had done for him were treasuries and then calls against the treasuries. We hadn't done any stocks or anything, but all of his friends, nobody could get their brokers on the phone. And so he had me, there's called a squawk box, in the middle of the desk, and everybody was shooting questions at me. The best day I could have ever been a broker. Because after that, they taught me, these wildcatters, these very aggressive traders that really understood the markets and the ebbs and flows of the markets. They taught me how to read the technical language of the market. It wasn't Shearson. The training program there lasted 2.5 years. They never taught me how to read the technical language of the markets.
Wow.
What they taught me was how to sell an intangible. And, that's just the truth of it. So, having said that, I think no matter what, gold and silver have been good money for 5,000-6,000 years. And regardless of the form, it's always good money. And since you've got farmers, would you allow me to just kind of step back for a second and give people a little money 101? Because it impacts all of us. You want to stop and think about what is really the function of money. And it was a tool that enabled a society to specialize. So you could have a banker, you could have a baker, you could have a farmer, etc. So it was a tool to value labor. On a gold standard, it took energy and labor to pull the gold out of the ground. So on a gold standard, we were really trading labor for labor, which is a fair way to do it. But for governments, then if they wanted to tax you, it was too obvious and you might not agree to it. So they came up with a different monetary system, Fiat. And the literal translation is by decree. So what it really is government-based money. And when they created this particular system, because there have been lots of currencies that have been tried over the years, fiat currencies, they knew two key things. Number one, that people marry the legal money of the state. So, the dollar can never go away. But also, they understood that people do not understand inflation. And so baked into the very design of the current monetary system is inflation. There are a number of functions of money, but the most important one, in my opinion, is as a store of value over time. Well, gold holds its store of value over time. So an ounce of gold 5,000 years ago would buy a great suit of armor. In the early 20th century, it would buy a really nice men's suit. And at 1840 or wherever it happens to be at this moment, I'm thinking you can still get a pretty nice man's suit for, over $1,800. So it holds its value over time, whereas the fiat money, by design, declines in value over time and causes nominal confusion.